entrepreneurs, have you been reevaluating your career, daydreaming about starting your own business, or thinking about becoming your own boss? You're not alone. According to Forbes, in August alone, more than 4 million workers quit their job, following months of already high quit rates. This leads me to believe that these once employees are becoming their own boss. Leave a comment below if you've left your career to become your own boss. I'd love to hear your story. Today, we have Danielle Vasinova. She's here to share how she evolved from actress to a serial entrepreneur. I'm your host for Millennial Money, Alexandra Gonzalez-Ganoza. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to have you. And, I'm very familiar with your background, but for those of us in our audience who are not yet familiar with you, could you give us a brief background?
I have to say, first of all, you're amazing. And everything that you're doing is incredible. Growing up for me, literally, I grew up from a very poor family on a farm. My parents didn't even teach me how to balance a checkbook. So the fact that this is what you're doing and you're educating people is huge. It's huge. I wish I had you when I was young.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. I mean, honestly, based on your background too, you're an incredible inspiration. As soon as we started talking, I was like, she's perfect for the show. You're an inspiration for so many other entrepreneurs too. And I honestly, sincerely don't know how you manage everything you're doing.
I think the more that I have to do, the more I make time for everything, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're like that too, but if I have all the time in the world, forget it, whatever, but if I have a million things to do, they're all going to get done.
An object in motion stays in motion. That's literally, I live by that. Yeah. Because if you're not booking up your entire schedule with things, of course, that you're passionate about.
Right.
You just stay
inertia, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's how I operate best. Inertia.
And honestly, I mean, this is like the perfect opening for the show because, you've been able to accomplish so many things between managing your own brands, your voiceover profession that I read about, modeling, and just being an actress. How are you able to manage all your time and everything you're doing and all the projects you're working on?
Listen, I've got a good team. Okay. I'll put it to you that way. I've gotten to be really good at time management. I just figure it out. And sometimes, honestly, I feel like my head's going to pop off, mm-hmm. But I just reach out to people and I find the most important things that need to get done first and then go from there. I can't think of all of this. It's like I have to kind of just whittle it down and just move throughout the day. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And somehow, way it all gets done.
The life of an entrepreneur, of course.
And it's crazy too, because my agents will throw things in last minute or they'll call me and they'll say, oh, because everything's moved to self-tapes now, it's a little bit like, we need this tape in an hour. I'm like, I'm in the middle. I'm like on the 405 trying to head to somewhere right now. And they're like, no, we need this. So I'll just like do it in the car. I don't know, girl. A way will be found,
I love that. Cause there's some people who believe in the approach of like just the general structure. And then there's, it depends on your personality. So for example, you being able to just adapt to anything that gets thrown your way, because one thing that astonished me when just, learning more about you and what you've accomplished, like I mentioned earlier, you have the modeling, you're also an actor, voiceover, entrepreneur, you've invested in businesses. And I know you're very passionate about teaching like female entrepreneurs also. So it's like, I was wondering, do you have a structure or like, how do you make sure you accomplish the goals in each area of your life?
For me, I don't even think outside the box. I think like there is no box, And so for me, kind of anything goes, and I'm a very creative person too. So I might think, okay, this is the way my day is going to go. Everything just it just gets chaotic, and it's not that way, but that's the beauty of it. And we just adapt and we move and we change with it and we figure it out. Yeah. And that truly is the life of an entrepreneur.
That's true. And I think it's also about making peace with not having a structured life, because I know that initially when I started like my path to entrepreneurship, I would beat myself up because I didn't get to, X task, but then I did accomplish all these other things, right? So I think it's just about knowing that with the life of an entrepreneur, so many things get thrown at your way, and being at peace with the craziness of it all.
Exactly. Celebrate the wins. Know that it's going to get bananas,
Yeah.
and just move through it,
Yeah.
And it's so important to see those failures as moments that you can grow from.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
that is the key right there, because you never know what the next day is going to bring, and it's going to be up and down and all around and in and out, but always to stay focused on the end goal, right?
Yeah. And, one of the biggest issues that we see for a lot of small business owners is that they're working in their business basically 24/7, right? And sometimes burnout can happen pretty quickly, especially if you're, exerting your all, working long hours. How do you personally maintain a healthy balance between, what you're doing, your personal life, and just making sure you have that fire in you all the time?
Drink heavily. No, I'm just kidding.
That's the secret.
I'm kidding. Yeah. I mean, I like yoga. I mean, this sounds kind of funny, but like sometimes you need to step away, because you can be at your computer, at your phone, at your, talking to your people, all the things all the time. And sometimes you need to just recharge and get back to yourself. And to take that hour or 2 hours, or even if it's a 10-minute meditation session, and literally just come back to come back to yourself and just realign, because you can go that much farther, that much quicker if you come back to the source.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's about blocking out that time for yourself, which is the most essential, because it's pretty important. We work on projects we're passionate about, but in order to recharge our batteries, our social life, everything, to just, pull from within and concentrate on ourselves as well.
Listen, I flatlined during COVID.
Wow.
I was dead for 3 minutes, and I was in the ICU for a month. And I think that every day is so precious, and nothing is to be taken for granted,
Wow.
I get choked up here.
Yeah.
And I just think that, nothing, sorry.
Oh,
Nothing
it's a beautiful story.
Nothing matters if you don't have your health. Everything's gonna figure itself out, right? You're gonna surround yourself with good people. You're gonna know where you want to go. You might not always know how to get there.
I know.
But you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. And what you lived through was definitely, obviously, majority of people in this world have never experienced something that you've experienced as close to that magnitude. And so, I see your tears, and it touches my heart. And I can only imagine how you were able to use something that was so difficult to become a better person, to inspire you, like you just said, to appreciate every moment in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it right there. Just to know that even if people haven't experienced that for themselves, they've had a loved one, they've had, we're all connected, right? And so, to know that we're here right now, and to make the best of what's here, and just to surround ourselves with good people and find that purpose. I think that I struggled with finding that purpose for a long time, because I love what I do. Like, I love to act, I love to create, I love to do all those things, but I also hope to inspire people and have that ripple effect, where if you affect one, they can affect someone else and someone else and someone else.
That's beautiful. And We were talking earlier about just all the experiences you've had in this life, right? Which have been in abundance. I mean, you've been through it all, basically. And we talked about how, you modeled your actressing career. What was that timeline like? Because I see all these accomplishments, and I wanna understand, your timeline. How did it start? What inspired you to start? And then how did you get into the world of entrepreneurship?
I never wanted to act, actually. I'm just a farm girl at heart. They wanted to groom me to be a professional jockey. They wanted to make me like the Danica Patrick of horse racing, actually. But, it's not if you're going to get hurt, it's when, right? And you have to be a $120 with the tack. And it's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, sometimes drugs get involved with making weight and things like that. But, I sort of fell into things because I was a cheerleader in high school, and we did a competition at a local mall for the MDA, which is the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And there was a scout there from a big modeling agency in New York City, and she invited me to come down and to meet with the rest of their team. And I did. And I went down with my mom. I was only like 13 years old, I think, at the time. And so we were in Connecticut, and I went down with my mom, and they said, okay, we'd like to sign you. Well, we went through the process, and then they sent us an email and said, we'd like to sign you. And so I did. And that kind of began the work for me. And we would always be going, I would take the train, a couple hours down to New York City and do jobs. And, then I was working at a restaurant, and my friends were going out to California, and I had always, always, always wanted to go to California. It's just like the California dream, right? And so I had auditioned to be a Patriots cheerleader, and I got on the squad, but we wouldn't make much money. We make like $100 a game. We would, make money off of merch and like doing appearances and stuff like that, but we didn't get paid for practice or anything. And so I was like, okay, do the cheerleading thing or go to Cali? And I was like, go to Cali.
Go to Cali.
Go to Cali. So I left, and I drove cross country with my two friends in just a little Honda Accord with no money in my pocket. And then somehow my mom worked at American Airlines at the time, and she's like, oh, these two really good looking people came to check in, and they were going out to California. And she's like, oh, my daughter just left for Cali. And they said, what for? And she told them, and she's like, well, I actually cast for Young and the Restless, so here's my card. And so I called her, and I wasn't in California yet. She's like, all right, well, call me when you get to Cali. So like 2 days later, I called her up, and she's like, all right, we'll come down to CBS on Friday. So I went down. She's originally from Boston. We hit it off. We talked for 2 hours. And then she gave me a set aside. She's like, here, read this. So I look it over. I don't even know what the term sides is. It didn't even register. I did no training, no nothing. It was just a dream. And I read the sides, and then she gave me an adjustment, what's called an adjustment. And I did it again, and she's like, okay, do you want the part? And so I said, yeah, twist my arm, And so she's like, all right, go to wardrobe, you work, be here at 6:45 a.m. Monday morning, back to CBS. And that was my first job. And so one thing led to the next, and then it was not that easy. I had to get a manager, then I went out for a bunch of auditions, didn't get them. It was not as easy as just my mom meeting somebody at the airport and then them offering me a job. Yeah. Then the real work set in, and I had to study, and I learned, I learned about the whole process and started to assemble a team, even though I had no idea what that meant. And I think that there's just a lot of instability and ups and downs. And, it's a challenging industry because the highs can be really high, but the lows can be really low. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, through some of my biggest failures or, screw ups in auditions probably led me to, I think I have an entrepreneurial spirit at heart, but I think that path led me to start to kind of make me go inward and think like, okay, what do I want? Like, what do I want to, who do I want to be affiliated with? What do I want to do? Can I create something on my own where I can have sort of a through line that goes underneath all of this, right? Where I can still do acting and voiceover work and print and editorial and but also affect people the way that I want to affect them, or, invest or be a part of things that I believe in. And I think, sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
No, it was beautiful. That was, I was so curious, and that's exactly, what I wanted to hear and what I wanted to learn about you, because it's, one thing that stuck out to me was because you started off as, doing the actressing and like the modeling, and then you moved to California. Thanks to all that, even though you were unsure of like what path you wanted long term, which is what a lot of people let themselves like stop them, because they're just so scared. They're like, oh, but this decision, they think of it as in like an end all be all. This is the rest of my life. And really, it can pivot into something completely different. But because you put yourself in those situations, you were able to discover what you were truly passionate about and what you liked and didn't like. So, I mean, I commend you for being fearless.
Thank you. And that's what it is. It's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm a total scaredy cat, but I'm also brave. Right. And so I think that you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And if you kind of stay in motion, a way will be found and things will sort of be figured out, even though you might not really know how.
Yeah. And what's beautiful about that is that you said, like, you failed and you failed forward, you kept going. And what I love too is that you threw yourself into the unknown, and you discovered that you still needed to build a team when it came to, for example, modeling and, your career itself. And those same things are what you need in order to become an entrepreneur. Without your team, you're nothing. You
can't do everything on your own. You just, even if you want to, even if you're a control freak, even if you're, XYZ, you literally can't. And you have to learn how to delegate. And there's a tremendous amount of power and strength in that,
And it takes a lot. And like you said, and it also takes a lot of knowledge. And I think, if you don't learn how to delegate, then that's where you just stay small forever, right? Because there's only so much you can do on your own. But once you release that fear, once you start trusting, once you start also training and educating yourself on who can do it, then you can build a successful team that can take you to the next level.
Right, because you're going to learn things from that team too, They're going to end up teaching you. You're all going to teach each other things. But as long as you have that trust and that faith in them, that's what you need to move to the next level.
Yeah. And one of the biggest struggles for, new entrepreneurs that we see in our community is that they often become the brand, and they get stuck devoting 100% of themselves to the business, right? Which is what we were just talking about. How did you make the shift from being the face of your business to wanting to invest in a business?
For me, like even in acting, it's more about the story, so to speak. I would be, some little tree or rock or whatever in the background if I thought the story was amazing and the director was great and it was being done in the right medium. And I think that that's the same thing for entrepreneurship. I think that, I don't know, I just, I'm going off on a tangent, and I want to kind of come back to your original question. Can you repeat what it was?
Yeah. So basically the essence of it is, these entrepreneurs, they get stuck on doing everything 100% of themselves. And what I really want to learn, because there's so many other people in our audience that face this, is how did you make the shift of, being the face of your business to then, starting to invest in a business or be less of in the camera and more of an entrepreneur?
I don't really want to be the face of everything. I want to believe in what I believe in. And if it's the right fit, if that lends itself to that, great. But if not, if it's just something that I'm really passionate about, then, I'm happy to invest. I'm happy to help that business along and do whatever it takes, and just be there sort of in the background, driving things forward. It just has to be whatever the right fit is. And for me, it's just about believing in the ultimate mission, in what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to grow.
Yeah. And, earlier you mentioned about a lot of like the failures that you experienced. What are some of the struggles you faced and when making the transition to becoming an entrepreneur or being less in that career and more in wanting to inspire, the females or the podcast that you just started?
I'm for the girls. Okay. I know that so many of these, and I love men too, but I know, a lot of these industries, a lot of these businesses are super male dominated, and it can be intimidating at times. I mean, I'm a girl. I know from experience, and I know, what it's like. And so for me, like, I am for the girls. Like, I want everybody to succeed and to do really, really well, and to, come out of their shell and know that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to fall down and to get back up again, and to be that light, because I don't have all the answers, but I can certainly tell you, from experience, what I've been through, and to know just to get up and to fight another day.
And at Rich Dad, we always say how crucial your team is, right? It's the biggest asset you can have.
Number one.
And, yeah. I mean, it's fundamental. And so I know that you mentioned previously how important that is for you as well. Mm-hmm. Who would you say, like, what are the key roles of the people on your team that are essential for you as an entrepreneur? Robert and Kim say that they can't live without their bookkeeper. So right. What are some of the people you can't live without?
Yeah, bookkeeper is definitely a good. Definitely.
It sounds
accounting is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds a little boring for some people, but I mean, really, at Rich Dad, we always talk about how the way to build wealth is through taxes and, tax-free wealth, and then your bookkeeper to hold you accountable, bills, etc. So yeah, I mean, that's fundamental here.
Exactly. Yeah. 1031 exchanges. Yeah. You want to cash flow. You want to do all that stuff. Yeah. I would like to get more into real estate. So we're going to have to talk, but there's a wide net, right? Because with acting, I have different agents in different markets, right? I have a manager. I have more of a personal manager who I speak to every day, just sort of on the day-to-day things, because my agents in different markets like LA, New York, London, what have you, they're busy, and they're making calls, doing submissions, doing all the things. In a moment, talking with me about our overall plan is a minute that they're not like getting the things done that they need to get done. So it's important to have the vision, keep the vision, and let them work and let them do what they need to do. I have people, I have a brand manager too. And so we talk on a day-to-day basis, because we're trying to refine things and focus things in certain areas. So that's a key component. Accounting, bookkeeping, those are fantastic. You need those. A good lawyer as well. But everybody has their role. And I think that just to have one or two people that are close to you that you speak with on a day-to-day basis, and then you delegate out everything to everybody that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of reconvene for, once, like weekly meetings or monthly meetings or whatever it is. So.
Yeah.
And does that make sense?
No, yeah, it does. It does. And, it's very distinct for each brand, each person, each company, what kind of team you have, what kind of team you need to have. But some of them are just the basics, like the lawyer, the accounting, the brand manager. That's important. Someone who keeps everything in check.
Exactly. And then, some of the businesses that I've invested in, sometimes I want to go and be really hands-on But then sometimes there's other people that manage all the other people. So I just talk to that one person and they're talking to everybody else. Mm-hmm. So it's really sort of situation dependent, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I was wondering too, how did you come to decide, when you start investing in these businesses, how do you decide which one is the right fit for you? Is there like fundamentals that you follow?
Yeah, I just think that it's about core values. It's about, do you believe in what they're doing and the overall way that they're doing it? I think that that's important. With Sugar Taco, with Plant Butchers, with Asukar, it's all female owned and operated. And so, it's kind of girl power once again. And we're strong, we've got a lot of resources and a lot of really good girls. And they're all very supportive of one another and really hardworking. Mm-hmm. And so I love that. And so I wanted to be part of that and their culture, mm-hmm. because it's kind of true to my beliefs and to my heart.
Mm-hmm. And clearly you're a very passionate person, and you've had a successful I'm like here like stumbling over my words, but you've had a successful career, and you've chosen to regardless navigate this uncertain world of entrepreneurship and inspiring others. What has been your biggest inspiration? Like, who in your life has been your biggest inspiration?
I mean, God, I would have to say, like, okay, starting with my grandmother, I'm actually writing a children's book. I'm doing a whole franchise. I want to do a children's book and an animated series and some merchandise. And I took her story and turned her into a bear. And there's other, players in the story that are, different types of animals. And she was from Czech Republic, and she had no money. And she was an actress and a singer and a dancer there. And she escaped with nothing more than a suitcase in the middle of the night, because, communism was run rampant, and it was a crazy time that she grew up in. And she was only probably, 16, 17 years old. And she got bounced around to a bunch of DP camps, the displaced persons camps. And she ended up at this one in Germany. And my grandfather, so she was from Prague. He was from Bratislava. So they didn't know each other in Czechoslovakia at the time, but they met at this DP camp in Germany. And he saw her on the stage because she formed like this little trio, and people would throw up like food or clothes or shoes or what have you. And he fell in love with her, and they got a sponsor. And they ended up coming over to New York City, and they had no money, nothing. And she spoke no English. So she went from acting and singing and dancing in Prague to scrubbing toilets in New York City. But it was all in the name of freedom. And that, is a big deal for me, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. So she, to me, is my greatest hero. And my mother, of course, because she's been through so much, and she's just my rock, my hero, my best friend, everything. And I love, there's so many people, but, even somebody like Oprah, because she has literally built an empire from scratch. Mm-hmm. And that is truly inspirational.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about the world of entrepreneurship, that you are your own creator of your destiny, right? You are in charge of your freedom. And when you said freedom, it gave me chills, because that's literally, that's my inspiration too. It's just freedom. It's freedom to live by my morals and values, and design my future and live with purpose every day.
And create. Right?
Yeah.
And create. Mm-hmm. They say life isn't about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And some people, you've had an incredible women in your life who have inspired you, right? Mm-hmm. Your grandmother, your mother, clearly extremely strong figures in your life. And especially considering the experiences you told me you lived through, right? That because of your attitude and your strength, you've made great stories out of them, and you've reached success and happiness and passion. What would your advice be to maybe people who haven't lived through that or don't have someone like that in their life? How can they find a mentor or some kind of inspiration?
I mean, we live in a day and age now where everything is at our fingertips, right? So maybe they see this interview, maybe they see you, maybe they see somebody that you know, or something that strikes a chord from something that they're watching. Inspiration is everywhere. It doesn't have to come from, somebody that's closest to you in your family. It can come, from the click of a button, really. It's just a matter of what you click into, right? Kind of what registers with you. So if you make, a list of 10 things, like 10 words, and then you just start watching programs that kind of have to do with maybe one of those 10 words, you're going to find inspiration. Like that's how you and I came together. I found you randomly because I love all the rich dad stuff. So that's one of my passions or my interests, right? But sometimes you don't know how I didn't know that I would be here with you. It's
in a way serendipity or like what we were talking about earlier, like putting yourself out there, because it was such a beautiful connection, just so genuine to, we connected. You had seen Millennial Money. I ended up loving everything that you do, that you stand for. And then look at us now. We're doing a podcast together, and it's that passion that connected us.
Exactly. And just reach out and say hi, because you never know where it's going to go. I mean, here we are.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And you're really big into giving back to your community, especially by supporting other female entrepreneurs, like we mentioned. Why is that so important to you?
It's a big piece of it. It's a huge piece of it. I think, they always say, when you ride the elevator up, it's sort of your duty to send it back down. And I think that, to be a part of, like, my grandmother, she was a huge advocate for the children. She loved St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So in honor of her, with my children's book, we're going to give a portion of the proceeds back to St. Jude's. I love horses. So I'm part of this organization called Heroes and Horses, and they deal with, post-war vets suffering with PTSD and sort of, their reintegration back into society by way of horses. And I've ridden horses since I was like, yay high. I was like a little girl, like 3 years old. So that's something, that's very special and very kind of near and dear to my heart. The list goes on and on. UNHCR, I mean, it goes on and on, but it's just, I don't know. It kind of just warms my heart to be part of those and shed light on those things. I think it's important.
And, we share a lot of, like, the beautiful side of being passion driven and, this life of entrepreneurship and your freedom. But I mean, we know that we face a lot of obstacles, right? So what are some of the struggles you face when making the transition to investing and to being an entrepreneur?
Girl, I have struggles of every aspect of every single thing that I'm doing.
Every single second of the day.
I have struggles from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. I mean, it's struggles all day long, girl.
Yeah. But what's,
I don't know,
for you,
just... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, like maybe like the biggest one that's led you to, like, your best success or how you even overcome them.
I mean, I have screwed up, so many auditions and so many things. And I think maybe, who knows, maybe me screwing up this audition led me to think, I need to be my own boss and figure out how I can have this through line, even if I screw up, even if something happens, even if this director doesn't like me, or I don't get hired for this job or whatever, because that stuff is so far beyond my control. Right. And so maybe those screw ups in the casting offices has led me to being, a serial entrepreneur, where I'm like, no, I'm going to take the bull by the horns, and it's never going to be perfect, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to find a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's knowing it's not the end of the world when you do make a mistake, because
No,
yeah, it happens
because
all
it's
the
going to
time.
happen like literally every day. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, probably every hour.
Yeah. And so, do you have any money rules? Like, for example, Robert and Kim, right? They started out when basically their rule is every. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. Okay. Do you have any money rules? For example, Robert and Kim, when they started out, they divided every dollar that came in. So
Okay.
in 3 buckets, and one for bills, one for giving back, and one for investing. Do you live by any money rules like that or similar to that?
Don't spend more than you make. Just kidding. When you're growing a business, you're probably going to spend a lot more than you're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I love those rules that Robert and Kim set out. I think those are fantastic. I do that actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when you're growing, it's you're going to put a lot in, and you're not going to get a lot out unless you're really lucky for a little bit of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can always keep in mind, okay, yeah, this is going here, this is going here, this is going here. So you don't put all your eggs in one basket, you diversify the portfolio. I think that is key.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you want to make it grow. There's, at first it is, money comes in and you get excited and you want to invest it into things that aren't exactly necessary for your business. So I think it's important to always look at things that will fill your passion and make you excited when you spend them, but making sure that it's always making your business, your company grow, your brand, whatever it may be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Always be growing. Mm-hmm. Always looking forward, always moving. Yeah.
And Danielle, I've loved getting to know you, your story, just everything. You're so passionate. It's contagious. So
it takes one to know one, right?
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to just have learned so much about you. I was wondering, do you have any final words for like our audience, for all the millennials and entrepreneurs that have joined us today?
Listen to this girl. She's amazing. I wish I had her when I was like 10 years old. Listen to every single episode and you will learn. And always just stay focused on the end goal and know that where there's a will, there's a way. And surround yourself with good people. And yes, you can. You can and you will.
Much. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been incredible getting to know you. I have loved to know your story. Thank you so much for joining us, Danielle. Despite having a successful acting and modeling career, Danielle decided to dive into the uncertain world of entrepreneurship. It's a testimony to us all that as long as we want to inspire others through our actions, we'll always be on the right path and reap the benefits that come with it. For future entrepreneurship and inspiration, subscribe to our channel. Share this with a friend who took the risk to become their own boss, or help them inspire to make that leap. Thank you guys for being a part of this incredible community. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
And bye.